boys and girls, it's Mrs. Caper, and I'm here to talk about cranberries. Well, we've been talking about the 3 C's of this time of year: cranberries, candy canes, and conifers or Christmas trees. Well, I'm here to talk about this really cool crop called cranberries. We don't grow them in our part of Illinois or even in our state, but they are grown in a neighboring state. So I want to talk about those. But you remember that I'm from the Champaign County Farm Bureau, and I always bring you information that has to do with farming the foods that you eat, maybe things for the clothes that you wear, or even fuels for your car. Well, today we're talking about cranberries because it's a popular time of the year. And I always tell you that behind every crop, every food product, every livestock animal is a family, a farm family. Well, this is the Detolfsons. They're a 5th-generation cranberry farming family, and Robert and his wife Liesel own and operate a 140-acre cranberry marsh in Wisconsin. It was originally purchased in 1871, and it's been in their family ever since. And interestingly, Liesel just wrote and published a book called Cranberry Time, and it's all about kids helping their parents harvest cranberries. So what do we know about cranberries? Well, they're native to America. That means long before we were here, our families were here, the Native Americans used cranberries as a food source and for medicines. They felt like cranberries healed a lot of ailments. Now, cranberries grow on a low trailing vine. They love sandy soil. And they take 16 months to grow, over a year. That's a long time. So sometimes farmers are harvesting one crop while the new crop is still growing on the plant. They have to do that very carefully. Now, when they're ready to harvest, they harvest in the fall. Once that harvest is completed, they actually flood their fields to insulate their plants while they go dormant. So let's just say right now their harvest is done. Thanksgiving is over and we're getting ready to go into Christmas, and most of the cranberries around the United States have been picked. So what they're doing is they're flooding their bogs, and they're going to allow that to freeze over the winter. And that actually insulates the plants and allows them to go to sleep over the winter so that they're ready to go in the spring. Kind of interesting. Now, during the spring and summer months, the berries will ripen. They go from green to white to red. And ripe cranberries, when they're nice and red, are ready for harvesting. So what happens is, back again in the fall, the farmers will flood their fields. So they will open up the pipelines from maybe a creek or river source, and they'll flood their fields. Sounds kind of strange. We don't see our farmers flooding our fields here. They just get out there in their combines. But for cranberries, they have to be flooded. So you can see that this whole field is flooded with water, and now this machine drives through, and it has something similar to a forked end on these rollers that are rolling through the fields, and they are actually shaking those vines to get the berries off. Now, interestingly, the berries float to the top, and here's why. Cranberries have 4 air pockets in them with little teeny tiny seeds. So I'm going to give you a couple of things to do with your cranberries. And then I want you to open them up, and I want you to look at them, and they will even pop when you open them, and look at those air pockets. So when they're knocked off the vine, those air pockets bring those cranberries to the surface of the water. And then the farmers will corral them. Now, you've heard of maybe ranchers corralling their animals. Well, these cranberry farmers corral the cranberries. They actually take ropes and other devices, and they actually wrap a circle around those cranberries. And then the cranberries are corralled and sent up these elevators, and they fill up trucks to be taken to a processing plant to either be made into juice or cranberry sauce, cranberry vitamins, dried cranberries. There are a lot of uses for cranberries that we see. Now, I'm going to post a video below that I want you to watch on your own time. It's called How Does It Grow Cranberry? And it's going to go into great detail about how cranberries are grown. And I think you're really going to like it. Join me in a few minutes, and we're going to talk about our cranberry bounce test. Hey, it's Mrs. Caper, and we're doing some more science experiments. We just finished talking about cranberries and how they're harvested and how water is used to harvest them. And many cranberry farmers and families from all over flood their bogs in order to get their cranberries to float to the top of the water. Why do they float? Because they have air pockets in them. Now, before we go and talk about that and experiment, you probably got a few cranberries from your teacher. These are real cranberries, pretty cool. Dark red in color. You might even have some that are lighter. I doubt if you have any white or green because that would mean that they were unripe. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to create, and there's one of these on your guide sheet, a grid. If you have 6 cranberries, make 6 squares. If you have 3, make 3 squares. And this is called the cranberry bounce test. And this is how you can tell if cranberries are ripe, good, and ready to go. All you do is hold your cranberry up from the same height each time. So let's say I'm going to hold my cranberry at about this height. I can see I'm referencing something in front of me, and I'm going to drop it. Ooh, that was a good bounce. So I'm going to put that one in this square, and I'm going to mark B for bounce. Okay, it bounced. I'm going to do the second one. I'm going to hold it to about the same height, and I'm going to say that one also bounced. And then I'm going to take another one from my supply here. It's a smaller one. I wonder if that one will bounce. Hold it at about the same height. Ooh, that had a good bounce. Okay, and let's try another one. Try this one from the jar, nice and dark. Let's see if it bounces. It bounced also. And I'm going to take a bigger one that looks like this. It bounced as well, almost bounced away. And one last one. I'm going to take one that's lighter in color, maybe not as ripe, and I'm going to see if that bounces. Sure does. Now, if you want to take this a step further, you can take a ruler and you can hold that ruler up, and as you do the bounce test again, you can kind of measure or guess at how high your cranberry bounces. And you can measure, okay, that one was about an inch, and you can write 1 inch. Go through and bounce your cranberries and just see how high they bounce and which one is the highest bouncer. If you happen to have a variety of cranberries and one of them seems to be a little bit mushy and old, you'll notice it doesn't bounce. And that would be a good indicator to farmers and anybody who's harvesting that that is a cranberry that probably shouldn't make it into the bag, but it does anyway. Now here's another thing that's kind of fun. Take your cranberries, take even the squishy one, okay? Put them in some water, drop them, and see how they float. They do float, we know, because they have air pockets in them. So here's the other fun part. When you're all done bouncing and floating, and by the way, here's another thing you could do. If you wanted to try to float those in 7-Up or orange juice or milk, you could. See if they float the same in every type of container and every type of liquid. When you're all done with that, this is the time to dissect your cranberry. And you can do this with your fingers, between your finger and your thumb. If you have an adult, you could also use a knife, but I like to do this with my fingers. And oftentimes, because of the air pockets inside, and because that means there's air trapped inside, that's what brings those cranberries up to the top, you might even hear a pop when you open them. Let's see. There was a little bit of a sound. And then when you open up that cranberry, you'll notice that there are 4 chambers inside of that cranberry, and each one of those chambers has teeny tiny seeds inside and around it. So you could pull those seeds out and say, oh, I've got cranberry seeds. You can even tap them on a surface like this, and those little seeds will tap out, and you'll be able to see that there are many, there's another one, there are many seeds inside. Get a close-up of this. Look at all those tiny little seeds inside of those cranberries. Check that out. So, boys and girls, have fun with your cranberries. Experiment with different types of liquid, different types of bouncing, and be sure to break those cranberries open and check out the inside. And I dare you, if you dare, eat one of your cranberries. They're safe, they're healthy, they're delicious, but they're sour. See if you can do it. Thanks.